everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of my knitting podcast. My name is Marlene, and this is a podcast where I talk about all things knitting and yarn, and I'm also planning some vlog formats. I've been including some of the footage I've been taking elsewhere, and just like trying to find my style in podcasting a bit more. I like the B-roll, and this is a bit more work intense than just filming yourself talking about the yarn, but I really enjoy it, so I would love to create more videos like that. So I've not had the time in the last couple of weeks, due to a lot of things going on at work, to really think about my knitting, to be honest. I mean, I've been thinking about the projects I've been knitting on, especially because some of them are test knits, and when it comes to that, I just want to be a good test knitter and think about and swatch and be careful with the choices I'm making. But otherwise, I know I've just been a bit not as organized and focused, and I think that's okay. It can just be something that you're doing to, get your mind off things. You don't need to make it another thing that is stressing you. But honestly, I love the organizing and planning, so that is part of the joy in this hobby for me. So I'm a bit sad that I didn't get to spend more time doing that, but I will be off work in a couple of weeks for my birthday, for Easter. I wanted to say Christmas, which that is explaining how my mind is really a bit overly, I can't even describe how my brain feels. It's been quite a stressful couple of weeks, and there are just so many things to do. So I don't want to start this whole video off on a negative note, so I'm just leaving all that behind. So the sun has just come out. It has been a really gray and dreary and rainy morning, so I'm really happy that the sun has made her debut for this day, and she's decided to come out, which honestly makes you instantly feel better, I think. I will try to keep it short and sweet and simple as far as I can, because I'll have to edit this over the weekend, and I would like to be able to upload it soon. But we'll see if this is possible. I've also received some feedback, so this video will include me making a sourdough bread at the end of it. I'm not going to, maybe I'll voice over some of the parts of the video, but I haven't planned on making it more like a, it's supposed to be interesting to look at and nice to watch, but not so much a tutorial, because I think it's a highly individual kind of like process. You'll have to find the way you're enjoying. Just with knitting, I think it's the same. You'll have to find a process that you enjoy doing when it comes to knitting and baking. So I'm not here to give anyone advice. I'm just how I'm doing it, and I thought maybe showing you would maybe help with some of the questions. If you do have any like really concrete questions to any of the steps that I'm doing to make my bread, you can always put the question into the chat and the question section, and I'm happy to answer any of them. I just don't think that I would be doing tutorials in the future when it comes to that, because I think there are other people out there that are already doing a great job with that, and I don't have the it's just not my goal to be kind of like educating people about that. I'd rather just show what I'm doing, maybe answer some questions and just enjoy that process without giving myself too much pressure of being also in a role of kind of like a person that is giving out advice for that, because I just don't see myself in that role. But yeah, this has already been a really long-winded way of saying hi. Today is going to be a regular episode. I'm going to take you along my FO, works in progress, and acquisitions route, although this acquisitions part is going to be a bit of a special one. I did do 2 yarn swaps, which they were 2 completely different things, but they are both called yarn swaps, so I'm going to go a bit more into detail about that. And then also I wanted to ask you guys if you had any more questions, because I was planning on doing a knit and chat, kind of like another Q&A video session for the next video. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them down below, or I am going to upload a question sticker, a question sticker in my Instagram stories soon. So if you do have any questions, you could go through these ways to ask them, or any other way that you come up with. I'm just going to collect all of them, and then I'm going to answer as much or as many of them as I can in the next video. So I'm going to put the project I'm currently working on away to talk to you guys about my first finished object for this episode. It's very obvious. I'm wearing it. I hope to have taken some like pictures of me wearing this, because I haven't done that yet, so I can insert them, because I always find that you can't really see all of it in this video. This is the Judy Sweater by Gregoria Fibers. This was a test knit, and the yarn was kindly sponsored by Isager, so I'm going to like always, I'm going to flag that. I got the yarn for free to test knit for her. I used the Jensen, Isager Jensen and Isager Alpaca 1, both in, I think it's called 7S, which is kind of like a warm-ish, grayish brown. My ice cubes have already melted because I made the coffee, tried to write down all of my notes, realized I had some things that I didn't know anymore about this project, because my friend taught me how to calculate how much yarn I use for a sweater when it comes to using more than 1 strand of yarn. Because the Isager Jensen actually came in, I put it on the scale, and it was a bit like the color, the amounts didn't add up. Some were flagged or like had a ball band that said that they were supposed to be 100 grams and it was only 50 grams. So it was a bit, I don't know how to say that. In the end, I did have enough, like I have some left over. But because usually when I have kind of like just one of these like commercial yarns, and I know this is going to be like supposed to be 50 grams, I just, in the end, I calculate how many skeins I used, and then if I have something left, I deduct that from the skeins that I bought. And so this is how I've been calculating how much yarn I used. Also with sweaters or projects that need more than 1 strand of yarn, but with this, because I couldn't relate, I couldn't, how do you say that? I wasn't able to trust that the skeins were the exact same amounts, because some of them were 50 grams, some of them were 100 grams, at the end I just had started and I didn't know how many skeins were which, so I didn't know that. So I put this on the scale. My friend told me that you should have to do some sort of like math thing, which I understood when she told me. I did when I had to fill out the form for the test knit, but now that I was looking at it today, because I realized I hadn't put in the numbers I sent to Anna for the test knit, I hadn't put them down anywhere, so I don't have them in my knitting notebook or in my Ravelry, which I did want to update before I was telling you guys about this, so you know how much yarn you would need. And I just wasn't sure anymore. So I'll have to ask her about it again, how she did it. It's just about like calculating how much percentage of the yarn would be in 100 grams of sweater, basically. So this is weighing 670 grams, 669 to be exact. And so because the Jensen has a meterage of 100 grams per 250 meters, and the Alpaca 1 has a meterage of 100 grams per 800 meters. There was some sort of like way of figuring this out. I was never good at math, to be as an excuse for why I don't remember this. And I was supposed to like calculate how many percentage of alpaca were in the yarn, which I think it was like in the finished project, I think it was about like 37%, which then helped me figure out how much of the single, oh, I can't speak, how much grams of each of the yarns was or is in this finished object. So I did that, and I hope that is right, but I'm going to check back with Anna, because I can't see the answers that I gave in her feedback form anymore, so I asked her about them. And that was a really long-winded way of saying this is a more chunky weight yarn sweater, whatever. I do like a really chunky and like heavy sweater. It's just, it feels like a hug. You're wearing a hug, and I mean, this doesn't even weigh a kilo. So getting more into detail about this, because I've been talking for such a long time and I don't know if I've said anything remotely interesting to you guys. This was quite a complex knit for me. So from the level where I see myself at, and having knit one sweater with a kind of like structure, which was the sweater number 18. This was the second kind of like non-stockinette, like basic sweater that I did that had a pattern which wasn't charted. So maybe she's going to put a chart in the final pattern, but she didn't have one. It's just a repeat of different stitches that you do. You can see it has some of these eyelets, which for people that know means that you're doing a knit two together and then a yarn over, which is all that I'm going to say about this, because for me, I would really highly recommend this pattern. So if you do like Anna's constructions, if you do like the half twisted rib details that she has along the ribbing, which I'm going to show you maybe like this. I hope you can see. If you like kind of like a boxy fit, kind of cropped but not too cropped, this is perfect. I think I have so much positive ease, and I like the drop shoulder design. What else can I say about this? I liked working with the yarn. It's a really rustic yarn experience. This you can see from the alpaca, which I've heard, and I don't know much about it, but it's supposed to have quite a long staple like length in the fiber, which you can see sometimes I think this is not going to be pilling a lot, but it's going to maybe shed some of this alpaca here and there. You can actually see sometimes it's like sticking out a bit, which, like I said, I don't mind. This was knitted on 4mm needles for the body, and for the ribbing details it was in 3mm needles, which makes this quite a, I would say, kind of like dainty and small knit project in comparison to a similar sweater, which would maybe be knit in like a 5mm for the body and 4mm for the ribbing. Which, like I said, I don't mind, but this took quite some time. It did take 5 weeks. I had to use each and every single last hour of this test knit deadline. At the end, I got a bit flustered there because I had the whole left, right, I don't know, the last sleeve left over, and I had to finish it in a weekend, which was absolutely possible, especially after I'd done the first one and knew about the decreases. I did have some problems with a couple of the techniques, knitting in a pattern and then increasing stitches for the front part where the shoulders meet in front on the chest. I don't know how to say that correctly, but also, yeah, with the arm decreases, I don't know if you're able to see this really well. It has a lovely kind of like shape here, but that also wasn't as easy, especially maybe because of some descriptive words that she's using in her patterns. Maybe that's also because of me not being a native English speaker, but when I'm reading knit in pattern, I suppose that you're really knitting the pattern whenever you're starting a new round. You would start in the pattern at the beginning. What she meant, like what Anna meant, was a lot of times when there were changes in the knitting, in the stitch counts, like with reduction or decreases, what she meant was to knit the stitches as they appeared in pattern. But also for me, knit in pattern was more like start every row with the same pattern, which then would have shifted the pattern. I don't know if this is making any sense. This was like a huge learning for me with this pattern, and we're talking about it, and I think maybe she's going to take this over into the final written pattern. And also I think that's what I like about this process. I think everyone's learning from everyone. So yeah, I hope I've said everything. I hope I've said everything about this that I wanted to say. It has not been released yet. If I do know the release date, I'm going to update you guys on Instagram, so go follow me there if you're interested about stuff like that. I'll have my project pages, like in my Ravelry and my Instagram, are always linked in my YouTube profile and in the description box right at the top of my like show notes. So if there's ever anything that you want to look up again about any of the projects or about my posting on Instagram, which hasn't been great lately because I've not found the time to do any of that, but usually I enjoy posting over there. So yeah, if you want to know anything more about that, go follow me on those other platforms. My second finished object, I do have 2 finished objects since the last time we spoke, is a hat. I'm going to put it on. I have a small mirror down here so I can actually see if this is working out. My hair is so thick. I hope this is looking good. This is the Hipster hat by Petite Knit. This is one of her hat designs that I actually haven't made before. So this is the first hipster hat I've made. It's knit in Olivia and Oliver Fibers burnt umber colorway in the base Cashmere DK, which is the first time that I'm using the Cashmere DK, and I think this is also the first collection that she included this base in. The burnt umber colorway was from her warm neutral collection, which I love, and I think this is just, I don't know why, but I mean, sometimes you just feel like you found a color that really suits you, that you really enjoy looking at. And although this is probably more like a autumn colorway, I don't discriminate colors that might not be spring appropriate. I don't know if I'm usually the person that is into all those really bright spring colors. Actually, maybe you will probably not see them on my channel here. If you've been following for some time, you know my color palette. And I do love a muted pop of color here and there, but also I like the neutrals, the beiges, the browns, and I think this is the perfect brownish red. Yeah, so I really enjoy this hat. I'm going to make another one for sure. Again, I'm repeating myself, but all of the details are linked in my Ravelry. I did do, I think, about 26 centimeters before I started the decreases in the top, because I wanted this to be a bit more standing up rather than hugging my head. It's actually quite funny because this morning I was watching Inge from the Knitting Traditions Knitting Podcast newest video, and she said the exact opposite. She was wearing one of her like really beautiful sunflower yellow heads, and she said that she liked the like swimming cap look where it's like really hugging your head, and she doesn't like this look. I'm the opposite. I mean, I do like on her, for example, or on other people, I enjoy this more rounded look, but on me and yeah, also on other people I like this look as well. So that tells you a lot about just like personal taste in knitting, and how important it is to follow those cues when you learn you like that more than that. And yeah, I just realized hats like this that don't have any mohair or suri, I'm actually like wearing autumn till spring. I'm wearing those like really simple, not too thick hats all of the time. I've been wearing them all of the time since I started knitting, almost. I think now it's been 2.5 years ago. And also before that, I was wearing store-bought beanies all of the time. I just think they suit me. I like how they look on my face and my head, and I like the feeling of having something on my head. I don't know why. But yeah, like I said, I've been struggling a bit with the fit of my weekend hat that I was showing you guys last time, and I'm really thinking about opening that back up and adding some length to it so it does have the same more like squishy and like higher top of the head. I don't know how you would actually correctly say that, but yeah. So I'm thinking about maybe also doing a video format where I'm showing you guys how I fix, and maybe also level up some of the knits that I've already done. So how I'm maybe lengthening a sweater, or how I'm lengthening a beanie, and how I'm maybe tightening something else, because I've been doing that since like I started knitting. I think it's so important to like go back in and fix mistakes and like change those knits to the way that you're actually going to wear them. Or another choice could also be giving them away to someone that would like them more, give them more love, and actually wear them. That is something I'm thinking a lot about lately. I am a person that loves to go to flea markets and like sell their stuff, also online on Vinted, because I try to at least have some sort of minimalistic wardrobe. I mean, I don't have that, but I strive to have that. I like to know what I can wear, to know how I can style those things and mix and match. And I feel like I know my style now for like autumn and winter, but I feel like this was such a long winter. I don't know why, but I don't know how to or what to wear for summer, which would actually be a great way to segue into the works in progress, which I've started doing summer knits. I've never done, I'm just going to wear this, right? Is that okay? Yeah, I'm going to keep the hat on because now the clouds have come back. It's gray again outside, so I know I may be a bit crazy drinking iced coffee in this weather, but I just enjoy the taste of it. So yeah, segue into summer knits. I haven't done summer knits before. I don't know why. I mean, like I said, I started knitting about 2.5 years ago, but in the beginning it was difficult for me because I knew so little about it. I did, I think, knit about my first sweater took about half a year. Then I knitted some hats in between, of which I felted many. I'm actually going to see if I still have them in the basement and then maybe show you in another video, and then I'll get rid of them because I was like, oh, maybe I can keep them for like a child. No child is going to want to wear those felty little things because if I'm ever going to have children, or if someone close to me is going to have children, I would want to knit them something nice and new and not something felted that has been living in our basement. I don't know. I'm going to have to let them go. I've just realized actually. So I'm going to do that. But yeah, like I said, I've been doing other things and I haven't done any summer knits. And now there has been, if you're on the knitting Instagram, you've seen a wave of test knits, at least in the bubble that I'm in. There have been quite a couple of test knits, and actually some of you have asked how I go about applying for test knits, and this is actually going to be a great question that I could answer in the next video. So if you're also interested in hearing what I think about test knitting, how I go about applying to test knits and such, because I've applied for some and I have been chosen for this one, but I've also not been chosen for others, which that is just the game. If there are a lot of people applying to knit the test knit, the designer has to choose. And like I said, I'm going to talk about this in another video because I find that to be a really interesting topic. Just looking at birds fighting on the roof of our neighbors. I'm sorry, I've gotten distracted. So the test knit I did get chosen to knit, or like the test knit that I am participating in, is the Farnham tee by TheKnitPurlGirl. And this is how far I've come. I hope you're able to see this. So I've started on the back panel. You're doing some German short rows to shape the neck, and then you're picking up both of the sides. This is pretty standard drop shoulder design, I would say. So the one thing that has been a bit challenging for this test knit so far has been doing X amount of stripes in the main color and then X amount of stripes in the contrast color. If you've done the Farnham sweater design, you know that already. The best thing you can actually do, in my opinion, and this is something I've looked up for my Scrappy blanket, because I was like, okay, I want to use both sides of the blanket, and in contrast to maybe a sweater construction where the knitted or the sewn in ends are always on the inside, so no one is seeing that mess, which, I mean, it can look messy, but with a blanket, I would want both sides to look nice. And so I looked up, or I was looking for tutorials that showed me how to sew in ends as I go. And this was actually really helpful for this test knit as well, because maybe I can show you on this part of it. This actually meant that I'm taking the end of the, for example, for the contrast color that I've just knitted the stripes in, and then I'm taking it and I'm kind of like weaving it in as I knit. I'm going to link the tutorial that I found on this in the description box below, and I really highly recommend it. I do just use part of this technique that she's showing in this video, which to weave in both ends as I go, I found a bit difficult, and then for the part of the knit to get too chunky, so I'm just taking one of the strands extra and I'm holding it. Just watch the video. It's really helpful. I also suggested this to the other testers in the group, which that is something I love about this test knit. We have a Instagram chat group. We've been chatting about yarn choices, color choices, just like sharing some little bits, like tidbits like this, like weaving in the ends as you go, because one person was asking about how and when they should do it, and actually I was able to share that, and then I was stuck in one part of the German short rows where you had to do something that I had never done before, and I was kind of like brain twisted in that moment, and at the end I realized it wasn't even that difficult, but I was able to ask them and they were answering me so quickly. So I think it's a really supportive group. I think it's really lovely also to chat a bit to the designer, who I think is really lovely, Sophie. So yeah, I'm knitting this now. I've only been knitting on this for a week since I stopped knitting on my other test knit. I just think a boxy drop shoulder design with a half twisted rib collar and sleeve ribbing is going to look great in my wardrobe. I think this is going to be a highly functional piece and also beautiful. And so I'm actually thinking about making 2 Farnham tees. I'm going to wait and see when I finish this, put this on, see if I grab it and wear it, and if I like the feel of the cotton. In my acquisitions, I'm going to show you the second kind of like tee quantity of yarn that I got for a second version, but I could also use that for another pattern, which I know I've seen people put up pattern ideas, inspirations, intentions. There are so many great formats on here, and I really look up or admire those people that are able to make these beautiful formats. At this point in time, I don't see myself doing like special videos like that, because right now, for example, I don't feel very springy. I'm excited when the sun comes out, but also I haven't made a mood board or thought about how I want to look in spring. I'm just like winging it basically. And so maybe I'll do something more of like a recap after I've knitted some summer garments, because I have some plans and I'm now knitting my first t-shirt and I'm enjoying it so much. But also, yeah, maybe there are going to be other formats, but for now I'm going to stick with what I know and let those other really creative and beautiful videos be filmed and done by other people. And I'm enjoying watching them, so that's all good. So I hope I've said everything about this. This is actually knitted on a 4.5mm needle, which makes this a bigger gauge than, for example, this chunky winter cardigan. No, it's not a cardigan, it's a sweater, which I like. This is a floaty. I've never knitted with a cotton yarn, And this one is actually, let me have a look. I love that this is matching so well. This is actually a cotton, viscose, and linen yarn. And if I tell you that this was the cheapest yarn purchase, and I know there are things that could be critiqued about this, but also I think it's great that there is yarn out there that anyone, most people, not anyone, but most people could afford and knit with. So I think this is a great option to just try out. And because this was my first t-shirt knit, I wanted to knit it in something easy and accessible and also cost effective, because you'll get a t-shirt for 15 bucks at H&M or Zara or any other like high street or fast fashion brand. And I think to be able to knit a t-shirt for the exact same amount of money with your own hands and put in the love, I think it's encouraging to be able to knit also cheap, or there is a nicer word for this, right? For like cost effective or affordable knitting project. So I think this is great. This was actually recommended to me by my friend Lydia. We're talking about summer knits, and she said that she enjoyed the cotton, viscose, and linen content in this, which I totally get. I think it's not as dry as you would maybe hear some people talk about cotton being really dry, and I don't find this to be too dry. Yeah, I hope I said everything about this that I wanted to say. I think, yeah, the TheKnitPurlGirl is using Knitting for Olive in soft silk, no, in pure silk and in cotton merino, which is, like I said, is a more luxe version, and I wouldn't say no to also knitting it, but also I think it's okay to use a more affordable yarn option. And I think it's really interesting to see what the other test knitters are choosing as yarn, because I think there aren't any, like, everyone's using different yarn, which I think is really nice. So yeah, this is my current like focus project, but also my first actual summer project that I cast on. I just haven't worked on since I had to focus on getting this finished and then focus most of my time on this t-shirt, is a camisole, which is a bit difficult to show you guys. It's, I hope you can actually see, there are a lot of ends that I haven't woven in yet, but it's going to sit like this. I've just started on the right hand side to match the back side, and then I'm going to knit in the round. And then this is actually, I mean, I'll have to make the other V and then connect them and then knit in the round, but actually I think this could be done shortly, soon, however you're saying that, because it's actually a really quick project. And I think I'm going to take this on a trip that we're planning on doing, or maybe finish it the next weekend or something like that. I'm going to focus on the test at first, but then I'm going to finish this, and I think it's going to look so nice. I'm going to show you guys the yarn again, because I think I've not shown it to you properly, or maybe I didn't, how do you say that? I didn't get it in focus really well the last time, so maybe, and hopefully this is better for you guys to see. This is the Ito Kuni in Angora and the Rowan Summerlite 4-ply in a sagey green. I forgot the actual name of this, but both of them are also linked in my Ravelry project. I didn't say the pattern name, did I? This is the Inge top by Spektakel Strikk, and that was a pattern recommendation by my other friend, Emma. She actually made this, in a blue and beige marled effect, and so she recommended me to try out this effect. My next work in progress is kind of a bit of a frustrating project. I took some time on my Lento, to work on my Lento. And I don't know what happened. Maybe I got overly excited and I thought the length is fine. I compared it to my other Lento and I don't know why, but it seemed like there were a similar length. And so I started the ribbing and then I bound off. And that's what I'm saying or meaning by saying I was overly excited, because I just did it. And if I'm learning anything from watching all of Nitty Natty's podcast episodes, is being more thoughtful with the choices that I'm making in knitting. Because now I've tried this on and it's really, really tight and short. And I've almost gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm going to give this to my little cousin. She's, I don't know, like 9 years old. Is going to fit her way better than me, because I'm a 20-something-year-old woman and this looks ridiculous on my body because it looks so tiny, when in actuality it's going to be fine. I'm just going to have to knit the sleeves at some point, and then I'm going to put it back on. If it still feels too short, I can always open it back up again. I think I have more than enough yarn, at least from the like hand-dyed colorway. I think I have enough. This is what I've left, and I have one. I don't know if I have any more of this. Maybe I will have to get another one of those. This is the Kremke soft something is the Surrey by Kremke. So I will knit the sleeves and then I'm going to take a big breath and think about it again. I'm going to put it on again. It is quite tight on the neck, which I found the Lentos to be. I like a tighter neck more than I like, for example, a kind of like very open neck, but also this is really tight. So I don't know what I'm doing about this, but I'm not going to just like give it away to someone. Not that that's not a good option. If I finished it and then still feel like someone else would wear it more and benefit from it, I think my little cousin would love to receive a sweater. She has been like asking about it, or at least she's been asking her mom about it, and I want to make her baby sister something. So maybe I'm making kits and baby knits for Christmas, and maybe still, if this is something that I know I'm not going to wear, I'm going to give to her, because this was size 3. I'm usually in most, like when it comes to most patterns, I'm a size 4 in most of them. So I knew that making size 3 would make it a bit more fitted in comparison to the oversized look that I enjoy in most of my other knits. But also size 3 was perfectly fine for my first Lento. So I was a bit, I don't know, surprised. And maybe also, because this is superwash yarn and Surrey Alpaca, I think this might also grow when washing. And maybe, like I said, I'm learning from Natalie's podcast so much on here. Maybe I'm also going to wash this before I continue, or maybe put in one sleeve and then wash it, or maybe put in both sleeves, wash it, and then reevaluate on the length. But yeah, this hasn't been getting much love or work on, just because there have been other things I've been focusing on. But I've never been a person to like hibernate their knits. I don't think I've ever had a UFO, depending on the how do you say that, like definition of the word. I think this is the closest I've come to having a UFO, and still I've put in some work and stitches since the last time I talked or I did a podcast. So yeah, I'm not sure about this. I still love the yarn. It's just not going as smoothly as some of the other things have been going, and maybe this is why I've not been reaching for this. And also picking up the stitches, sometimes I feel like I'll have to pick them up right away so I can knit on it actually whenever, because having something just sit there and not have a point of entry like that, like being able to just pick it up and knit, you'd have to pick it up, pick up the stitches, and then knit. And also with the arm, with the sleeve construction, you would have to regularly do the decreases for the arms. So like I said, it's not like difficult to do, it's just not something that I wanted to do. Am I making sense? I know it's funny how I sometimes say I want to keep it short and sweet and then babble on for hours, but also I think most of us like the long videos, right? So now I'm going to show you, I'm actually going to finish what I've started here, because that is the project I've just been working on at the beginning of this video. So I'm just going to finish this row, and then I'm going to show you guys how it looks. So this is my Scrappy blanket project. I wanted a way of being able to use my scraps. And by that, I don't mean like little ends of yarn, but more like, what about the yarn that is too little to use for a sock project, for example, or any other project for that matter. So I wanted something that I could use for a blanket, because I like the idea. Again, I told you guys about my inspiration for this project, so if you want to know more about this, I'm talking about it in my last episode. And I've also linked to people that have inspired this cast on for me there. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do a knitted blanket project. I've thought about doing a crochet blanket project, but I've never crocheted before, and I wanted to get this started. So I still have this crochet hook that I got from, I think it's Clover, and I'm eventually, at some point, I'm going to try and do some crocheting, but that time is not now. And so I've started the Cozy Comfort Throw by a Homespun House, which I think she is based in Germany, but maybe she is American. I don't know, but Kay from the Crazy Sock Lady has mentioned her stuff a couple of times, and I've seen that she has a really beautiful like sock colorways, and she has a advent calendar, and yeah, so this is how I've come to her website, and then to her cozy, what's it called, Cozy Comfort Throw. And I'm using 10 to 20 gram leftovers, which are in this basket. Hope you can see them. And these are, some of them have been from a mini set I got from Olivia and Oliver, but also some of them are just leftovers from mittens and sock projects. And so these are really big leftovers that I'm still going to use for some socks when I'm finished with this, because I'm at the moment, I'll have to show you the project. I don't know what I'm doing right now. So at the moment, this is how far I've come. I'm going to hold it double so I can show you better. This is the right side, and this is the wrong side, which I actually don't know which one I like more. I think they're both so beautiful. I've put in 5 colors, like you can see. I think this is Torre di Giralda. This is, all of them are Olivia and Oliver fibers. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I just know this one is Torre di Giralda. I think this is Marigold, and this is Eggnog. This is some of the leftover from my sweater that I did. This I think is something like Forest Willow. It's also from her new like warm neutral collection. So this is how far I've come. I haven't been making much progress on this or working on it majorly, just because, like I said, I've been focusing on my test knit the last 2 weeks majorly, or the last 5 weeks to be exact. And with this, like I said, I've been trying to knit in at least half of the ends, and now I have those ends left over. And for this, I've also looked up for a tutorial to knit or sew them in seamlessly. So I'm also going to link that. I haven't started with that, but I will be trying to do this as I go as well. And so I've taken a picture of the way that I want those like stripes to mix and match. This is actually the leftover from the hat, which is going to go in here. This is the leftover from my Sophie scarf, which is going to go in here, or Sophie shawl. This was my first DK sock project. Again, Olivia and Oliver. This is my Christmas sock project. These were my other Christmas socks. And so I have a couple of leftovers in here. This was my other weekend hat. And like I said, I took the picture so I know how I want to interchange them. Just for now, they start off quite warm and then go into more of a neutrally like mauvey brown tones. And this way I'm going to be able to interchange them as I go. And also, like I said, the skeins, the mini skeins that I got that are in here for now, they are 20 gram skeins. And I've weighed what I've been doing. I think I casted on, I don't know, it's in the Ravelry page how many I casted on, maybe 200 stitches, I don't know. And then I weighed how much yarn I needed for each row, which I'm counting them as, they are full rows, so 2, how do you say that? 2 garter ridges. So I'm doing 4 rows, and that equals about 10 grams. It's not exactly 10 grams, and I'd rather have a bit like wiggle room. So for now, I've just been putting in fingering scraps held double. And if I'm ever going to put in DK scraps, which I do have some of them are DK, I'm going to hold them single, which I hope is going to work out well. I think it will. And at the end, her pattern suggests doing a I-cord edging around the blanket. I've actually also caked up my next sock project, and I got some of the like really thin Chaogu red lace, because these are going to be the 2.5 millimeter. The Hermione everyday sock is actually asking for 2.25, which I do have, but Chelsea from the Truelane Knitting podcast, she said that she did it in 2.5 to not have them to be too tight. And also I think that's a good call, so I'm going to try that. Haven't come around or haven't had the time to cast them on, but that is going to be a cast on in the near future, which finishes up the whips segment of this video. And let's now move on to the acquisitions. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I do have quite a lot of acquisitions today to show you to you guys. So if this is not your cup of tea, and maybe you don't want to see them, which I always like to watch other people's acquisitions, so if that's not your cup of tea, I hopefully see you next time, but otherwise I'm going to continue with my acquisitions. I did actually forget to show you something from my last haul, which was kind of like a Olivia and Oliver pre-order and stuff that I got from her store. I don't know why, but this slipped my my haul. And this is the Olivia and Oliver Merino DK in the colorway Willow. And actually it's right where it's supposed to be. It's going to be another hipster hat. This is not something that I'm planning on casting on immediately. I already know what I want to make with this. It just slipped my mind the last time I did a haul, just because I think I was holding back one skein because this is going to be a gift, and I think I held that back as well by mistake. So yeah, this is the Willow Merino DK. I ordered some Willow with her store before, but that unfortunately, like I had mentioned, got lost in the mail. So now I ordered one again. And I think it's a great green color to make another hat with. And like I said, I like the way this is sitting. Let's hope I'm not watching this footage back and think like, oh gosh, Marlene, this is not suiting you the way you'd hoped it does. But I hope you also agree that this is looking great. Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to my next t-shirt project that I got some yarn for. When I got the yarn for the Farnham Tea test knit, I couldn't decide whether I wanted a navy and white or a beige and brown or a beige and copper or rust, like Sophie is making the one with rust stripes, which I find to be so beautiful, but I couldn't find the right colors with the drop spell. And so I got this, which is in the color 26 and 20. This is pearl white and this is navy blue. And I got these at an online store, but then I also went to the store that we have here in Marburg, which is selling drops yarn, and I got another t-shirt quantity of the colorway 03, and then this one I don't have the ball band anymore for it, but I think it's called forest brown, and it's also going to be linked in my Ravelry project page. These two are the colors that I'm currently working up. And then this is probably going to be another Farnham Tea or another summer knit. Like I said, I'm really enjoying making the Farnham Tea. I just want to wait and see how it fits me, and if it does fit the way I think it might fit me, which I hope is going to look great, I'll make another one with these colors. Yeah. So now I'm swiftly moving along to an event we kind of did. I have a local knitting group, a knitting circle that we're doing monthly meetings. We've just last Sunday been to my favorite cafe in Marburg, which I also worked at for some years, and we met up like we usually do, but we so my friends Lydia and we thought that doing a yarn swap would be a great idea to just get rid of those like miscellaneous skeins or scraps that you're not using anymore and you can't like give the love to that it actually deserves. So we all came to the table. I'm going to insert a picture either here or there of how our table looked. We had some great cake and coffee, some chai and tea. Chai and tea doesn't make sense. So it's some lovely drinks and food. And then in the midst of all of that, we had some skeins of yarn. And I got a couple of colors and skeins for future projects. So firstly, I'm going to show you the projects that I'm not going to make soon because they are going to be winter projects. I got this Fulcolana Peruvian Highland wool in the colorway 978, which I think is supposed to be oat. It's a lot more grayish than I thought this colorway would actually be because I wanted to get this as a base color for another project, but now that I'm looking at it, and this is still the old like branding, maybe the new one's going to be different, I don't know. I'll have a look in at our trip to Berlin in a couple of weeks to see if maybe this is something, it's just a different colorway than I thought it was. But I think this would actually be a great quantity for a weekend hatband, which I would like to make in the fall. And the next yarn that I got is the Sandnes Pergint in 1053. It's a bit of a darker gray color. And this also, I think, could be a great headband. Maybe I would need to get a second one of those. And also I could maybe make 2 headbands and gift one to a family member, maybe gift knit for Christmas early in autumn. So with these ones, I thought I'm going to spring clean soon. I'm going to sort out my clothes, see what I'm going to donate and what I'm going to put in the flea market pile soon, and I'm going to take up the summer and spring clothes from the basement. And so I'm going to put all of those like really thick winter yarns for sure. I'm going to put it into plastic bags, maybe even vacuum bags, and vacuum seal them so nothing can happen to them until autumn and winter arrive again, because I'm not going to knit with them anytime soon, I don't think, at least. But yeah, like I said, I got those 2 from 2 different people in the knitting group, and then I got 3 more things from 3 more people in the knitting group. So I actually got 1 or 2 skeins from most of the people that participated in the yarn swap, and I was actually able to gift I got 6 skeins and I gifted 5 to some other people. And my friend Lydia, she's actually making a sweater number 18 in the light version that I, by some lucky coincidence, kind of created in my, she's making one of those with the yarn that I got her and some leftover mohair that she still has, and I think it's going to look so great. So I'm really, it's just making me feel so happy that those skeins are going to be used, because I already have a finished garment with that wool. I'm not going to make another one with it. I just found that I wasn't feeling that, like making a second thing with the same yarn, and I had so much yarn left over, so that's great. The next thing I got was this shiny yak from Knit Loop, and it's the color powder, I think. And it looks to me like this beautiful champagne colorway. It's really shiny. I've been having it hung up here as well. I think this is going to make a beautiful summer camisole. This I'm really hoping to knit with in this summer, and yeah, I mean it's pretty close to my skin color, so I might look a bit naked in it, but also in like I can't imagine it being that hot that I need something like this, but it's eventually going to be, we're eventually going to have some really hot summer days, and so I think a camisole in this beautiful shiny yak will be great. It's 50% yak hair and 50% mulberry silk, so this is a really like luxe yarn, and someone didn't want it anymore, and I am really happy to have it and knit with it hopefully in the summer. The next 2 yarns I got were actually not from the same person, and for one of those the person actually didn't know anymore what that was. So for me, they look like they belong together. This is the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk and Dusty Artichoke. And this is the, I don't know what it is, seems to me like merino fingering in a kind of like aqua, also a bit darker than Dusty Artichoke colorway. And so I have some ideas for this. I've actually applied for another t-shirt test knit, which I hope she's going to contact us today, but I don't actually know if I'm going to be chosen. I mean, who knows if they're going to be chosen. You'll have a better idea if you've tested it for someone before and you and the designer had a great experience with that. The chances are better to be picked again, I would generally say, without having the all of the experiences. But if I'm going to be chosen for this test knit, I'm going to use this for it. And with this, I'm thinking about getting a second skein, which is funny, like you're doing a yarn swap to be thrifty and like use up scraps, and then you're buying more yarn to accommodate the needs. I think it's so cute. My knitting friend, Elena, she's called, she put in a little tag. I think it's so cute. But with this, I think Carlotta and Josephine, they didn't know what this was anymore, but I felt it and I held it against the Sundness Sunday, and it seems really similar. So this is a fingering, maybe not light fingering, but fingering yarn. It's a bit more squishy, a bit more like dusty. Maybe it does have a alpaca content to some extent, but yeah, like I said, and I would get a second one of this and maybe do another summer top. So those are some ideas. I'll keep you updated if I get the second summer tea test knit that I applied for. I'm not going to say any more about it because maybe it's not going to happen, and if it does happen, I'll tell you next time that we see each other. Now we've come to one of the most exciting things that happened to me this year so far. So like I said, I asked Chelsea from the Truelane Knitting podcast a couple of months back, I think in November last year, if she was interested in doing a yarn swap. I saw the Creabea Rebecca doing this with another YouTuber from the States, and so I thought from their kind of like example, I thought it would be a great idea. We did also know, like she said yes, which I was so happy about. We started talking more since we talked about this and I suggested doing the yarn swap, and now I'm flying over to see her in the summer and we're going to Flock Fiber Festival. So there is something great that came out from asking a stranger on the internet that has the same hobby than I do about doing something like this. So I highly recommend it. For me so far, this has been such a great experience, and meeting people on here that shared this love for fibers and yarn and knitting and this community. So first of all, I want to say it's been so nice chatting to people on here, and then also meeting Chelsea and talking to her regularly, and then doing this yarn swap because we've been so excited. We've been sending out the yarn now. We've been collecting the yarn, and then we were waiting for some of the pre-orders that we did to include into the yarn swap, and so it took some time for it to be finally time to send out the yarn, and we did. And Chelsea's yarn arrived within a week of sending it out. Mine was sent out a week earlier, and it did still take a week longer to arrive. So it was expensive for the both of us to send out the yarn, and they weren't even like big packages that we sent out. We agreed on a budget that should include the shipping. And so the shipping was actually quite a huge chunk of our budget, which is a shame, but also to be expected when shipping internationally. So the premises, like how do you actually say that? Like we agreed, or we knew kind of like the yarns we each other liked. So we talked about it. We were able to voice some wishes or like ideas, and bases or colors we liked. And then also, of course, while this was going on, we realized some of the things we liked by the way we're like reacting or acting on the knitting internet. So she saw that I had liked some of the colorways that came out by one brand, and then the other way around, I saw that she really loved on one of the colorways by a brand that was accessible to me. And so the idea of this swap was also to get the other person some of the yarn that wasn't readily available to them at the locations where they are at. So for her, she's in the US, I'm in Europe, and so we try to like think about that while choosing. And I'm talking so much. I'm actually going to show you the yarn now. I really got emotional when we chatted. When her yarn arrived, we scheduled a FaceTime and opened the boxes together, and it was so fun. And I had the funniest reactions, I think, to it. I'm not going to show any pictures because it was just a nice moment between the two of us, I would say. But now you're getting my second reaction to the yarn. Some of the yarn has, like I said, some context, and I'm going to talk about it, but also I'm not trying to make it take too long of a time. I did film all of the things that I got her, and maybe I'm going to include some of the clips, but also I think she's going to include them in her next acquisitions in her episode. So I don't want to take them, like, how do you say that, like spoil that if you're also going to watch her videos, of course. But yeah, I'm going to start with what she got me. She got kind of like a special delivery from Bainbridge Island, like she called that. And it is the most beautiful Surrey and the most beautiful La Shop Mercery spin cycle collaboration dyed in the wool. This is pale. I'm going to try and see, put them together. Like I said, this is from Bainbridge Island, which is in Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. And when I'm going to visit her, we're obviously going there. There is the famous La Shop Mercery, and also there is this other yarn shop, which I think is called Kid and Lamb. And this is where she got the Diamond Lane Birdie in Foxtrot. This is a 74 alpaca and 26 silk, 50 gram skein. And I think this is one of the most beautiful colorways I've ever seen in a dyed up yarn. I love this color. I'm not actually sure if it's something that suits me, like, I don't know if it suits me, but I love looking at it. So it's probably going to go up on the wall until I like find some, like, until I'll come up with an idea of what to make with it. I love the vintage looking label, and yeah, I squealed when I saw those two. The American Wool Superwash 200 yards sport weight in Pale September is a collaboration, like I said, between La Shop Mercery and Spin Cycle Yarns. I think this is also such a gorgeous color. Like, maybe I'm not usually a pastel person, but this colorway is just making me feel all kinds of things, to be honest. I've looked up a pattern that I wanted to do for some time, which is a Jessie Made Designs bralette kind of thing. I think it's ripple bralette. I forgot the name, but I'm thinking about whether this might be enough to make it. And she said that could be the case when we're going there together in the summer. I could get, if they have it in stock at that time, I could get another one of those. So yeah, I'm probably forgetting things that I want to say about this, but also they will feature in upcoming episodes at some point when I'm using them to make beautiful knitted things. So these were the two skeins that I got first, and now there's a special delivery from New York. Actually, when Chelsea was in New York last year, I was in New York at the same time, but we didn't know because we didn't know each other yet. And that is kind of like funny to us now. And also when she showed her Autumn in New York collection in her videos, she showed this yarn and some others, which I was like, I love them. And so she said that I hope you don't mind a gift from my stash, but after our New York City connection, I needed you to have it. And I think it's just the most gorgeous sock set. This is Jazz in the Park, and I think, yeah, I'm really looking forward to knitting socks with this colorway. This is Sorella yarn, which all of the brands of yarn that she got me, I never tried before, and so I think it's really special. The next thing she got me is this beautiful woolen spun fingering weight Brooklyn tweed loft. It's in the colorway Fossil, and I think it's just the most stunning cold, like the tone of the color is cold. It has some specks, so it's more like multi-dimensional. It's not just a flat color. It's American Targhee Columbia wool, and like I said, the colorway is Fossil. And what this yarn was supposed to be, I mean, we gave each other suggestions for what we thought the yarn could be used for, and she said, perhaps to be paired with petrichor. I know you've been wanting to make a cardigan. And so this could become, or will probably become a cardigan. And when I read that, because I read that before I pull out the last couple of skeins out of the box, I read petrichor and my heart stopped for a moment. And that is because when I saw the Explorer Knits and Fibers petrichor colorway from there, I don't even know what the collection was called, because I could just look at this colorway, I fell in love with this colorway. And I had already pulled out all of those beautiful skeins, and I know that, first of all, hand-dyed skeins are really expensive. I think wool in general is more expensive in the US than in Germany, especially the like higher price like indie brands and like hand-dyed ones. She went out of her way and got me this. I mean, they're so drapey. This is the Surrey Alpaca Lace 74 Baby Surrey Alpaca and 26% silk in the petrichor colorway, which I mean, I love it. And what her initial thought was to pair those two together and make a cardigan with it. I had actually never thought about making a cardigan with a hand-dyed Surrey. I do have those two sweater quantities of Surrey that I want to incorporate in a sweater project. But I always thought if I'm making a cardigan project, it's going to be in a tonal, of course. But now that she said that, and initially I was like, yeah, I'm going to see. Maybe I'm going to put them in two separate projects. I have the best of both worlds, because I think this is like on its own because of it's so like multi-dimensional, it's beautiful on its own. And this could also look so great in a sweater, but now that I've just like thought about it a bit more, I think she was right all along. This needs to become a cardigan. And I'm just now looking through Ravelry and just searching for fingering plus lace weight cardigan. I can't speak. Cardigan patterns. So if you do have any suggestions, because now it's just all falling on the ground, but yeah. If you do have any suggestions for a fingering plus lace weight cardigan pattern, please feel free to share them. I found the Agnete or Agnete cardigan by Petite and the April cardigan by Petite to be, or that they should be the right gauge. I don't know if I feel ready for a brioche cardigan on 3.5mm needles. So the Agnete or Agnete, although it is really beautiful, I don't know if I'm like ready for that. The April cardigan looks great. There is also the Champagne cardigan, although I don't know the gauge for that one. So I'll figure it out. But also I would love to get any of your suggestions if you do know a fingering weight cardigan. So yeah, I haven't made any decisions on that, but I would love to make a cardigan with it. So now that I've showed you all of this, I really hope I haven't forgotten anything. I could have very well just forgotten something. I know that I've spoke for some time. I hope you guys liked everything that I showed you. You like this hipster hat that I'm wearing. You like this Judy sweater that I'm wearing. I love both of them so much. I love everything that I got new from the store, bought with my own money, yarn swapped with my friend overseas. Thank you so much, Chelsea, again. And that I got at our local knitting yarn swap from people that didn't love them anymore or didn't use them anymore, and where I was also able to gift some of my yarn. I will definitely be doing that in the future again. I love the experience, both with the yarn swap with Chelsea, although because of the prices of shipping yarn, we won't be doing that anytime soon, I think. First of all, we're both, I think, kind of like saving up for the summer and not trying to buy too much yarn now before we're going to be like 2 weeks of yarny heaven, visiting so many local yarn stores and going to the Flock Fiber Festival. I think we're both like just trying to keep that in mind. And also she ordered some of the one collection to rule them all by Long Dog Yarn for me as well. We're going to make a matching, what's that called? It's the pullover, no, the neck. Wait a second. Yeah, we're going to make a matching terrazzo necks by Petite in the colorway Aragon, which has made us feel things. And yeah, so, and she's getting me some sock sets. So she's ordered that for me. I sent her the money for that. So that is on its way as well. So I will be shopping a bit in Berlin when I'm there in a couple of weeks, and I hope that I'll be filming the Q&A video before that, and maybe loading it up to the YouTubes before that as well. And then I'm trying to do a Berlin vlog and also visiting the yarn store. I'm actually meeting Belle Helms. I've talked about some of her designs before, and we've been chatting on Instagram as well. So we are going to meet up in Berlin in the Wollen Berlin yarn store, which I love as an online store, and I can't wait to visit in person. We're going to get a coffee and maybe shop some yarn together. But also, apart from that, I'm not looking to, I mean, I'm saying that now, and I'm not on a yarn ban, shopping ban of any means or kinds, but also I'm trying to use up what I have, do these scrappy projects, maybe do some gift knitting, and also just put away the winter yarn so it doesn't just bug me looking at it all the time, just keeping in mind that I have it. I think the Ravelry stash and the queue are really helpful for that, to like manage my hopes and expectations, and also let me see that I have so much yarn already in stash, so managing what I'm buying as well. And I'm also putting everything that I'm seeing and loving on a wish list, so I can think about it a bit more. I really highly recommend that. I do have so many like yarn brands on there that I would love to try one day. For example, the Kinross 4-ply, when I was still planning on going to Edinburgh this year, which is not going to happen because my friend and I, we booked a different trip to I'm speaking so fast, to Copenhagen, which was a lot cheaper, and we both didn't feel like paying that much money to go to Edinburgh just for 4 days. I would love to go there one day, but also I would love to like kind of connect it to some more outdoorsy experiences. Maybe I'll be able to convince my boyfriend that we could do that in a couple of years, to drive up there to Scotland and also have a bit more of a longer vacation and do some more things outside as well, like outdoorsy. But yeah, where was I going with that? Kinross 4-ply. So I have a couple of brands and yarns and styles and colorways and just things that I would like to try, and then a more concrete plan of what I would need to get for the projects that I do have in mind or in queue that I don't have the yarn for. But also I have about maybe, I don't know, 5-6 projects where I do already have the yarn for in stash. A huge gift knitting project this year that I still need to cast on, which is the Korshavn sweater for my boyfriend. And so many ideas, so much yarn, but I also love it. I hope you do also love it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed watching. Thank you so much for staying on for such a long time. Please do comment your questions if you do have any for the next episode, which will be a knit and chat and a Q&A kind of like style. If you do have any ideas for the yarn that I showed you guys and that I haven't mentioned before, but you feel like sharing, please also do that down there. And I think I've said everything. I'm going to insert some more clips at the end of me baking sourdough bread. So if that's not your thing, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye. So right here I have my Oatelease, which is my organic flour mixed with my water, and I pre-mix that and set it aside for 30 minutes before I put in my leaven, which is my freshly fed, very active starter, which I weigh how much I need for that, and then I'm mixing that for the first time with a robot technique. In this next step, I'm weighing my salt. For my recipe, I'm using about 10 to 12 grams of salt, and then I'm incorporating that into the dough and mixing it again with the robot technique. This is taking, as long as it does take to incorporate it all. At this point in time, I do have quite a good feeling about how long I need to knead the dough, although I don't want to overdo it. But from now on, I can definitely see the change in texture in my dough. You can see it's much more well incorporated, all of the ingredients now. It is sticky, which that is okay. I want it to be a bit sticky. And now I'm always leaving it on the side for about 30 minutes before I'm doing some folding techniques. This one is a just usual folding technique. I don't really know the name of that. I know that I'm also doing some coil folds, but like I said, it's just important to get some air into the dough. And like I said, this is the coil fold.
which this is actually helping to build the gluten in the dough so it's able to hold its shape better. I'm doing this about 4 to 6 times. So I'm doing this technique until I feel like it's holding its shape well. Now I'm putting it on the table and letting it rest there for some time before I shape the dough and then put it into a basket which is lined with linen. Right here you're seeing how I try to build the tension on the dough so it's actually holding its shape quite well, like you can see here. I'm going to put this overnight into the fridge. At this point this has been taking about half a day on and off. I always go back into the kitchen and do those folding and shaping techniques. And now the dough has been resting in the fridge overnight and I'm putting some more flour on it. This is going to saturate the color a bit better and give some contrasts. And I'm doing my scoring technique, which is going to help the dough rise in those spaces, and it's also looking nice. And this is my finished bread.